Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another movie review. Guys, in this video I am going to be reviewing one of the most critically acclaimed films that has been released in a theater this year. You are probably 100% going to start hearing this movie's name thrown up in conversation come this January when we start discussing Oscars. But anyway guys, in this video I am going to be reviewing Spotlight. That's right guys, Spotlight is actually a movie that if you don't watch trailers, you haven't seen nor heard of this movie probably, and that's not a good thing because you should see or hear about this movie in some form before you actually physically see it. But Spotlight is a much smaller movie that just got a wider release. It was limited release the last 2 weekends. It just went wide this weekend, so if you have some indie theater playing within like an hour away from your location, just drive out there and go see it, alright? Because it's worth it. Yeah, and again, this is one of the most talked about movies so far this year in terms of awards consideration. A lot of people are really hyping this movie up. In terms of awards consideration, a lot of people who have seen it, not only just critics, but audience members alike, are saying that it is a really, really good movie. And it's one that a lot of people should see. So, of course, I'm going to give my thoughts on Spotlight. So, guys, just before I get into the premise, the film is directed by Tom McCarthy, and I believe it's also, yes, it's written by him and Josh Singer, co-written by him and a guy named Josh Singer. And Tom McCarthy, in case you guys don't know what this guy looks like, I have never heard of the man, so I IMDb'd him after I watched the movie, and it's the guy from 2012. He's apparently an actor as well. He's only directed a few movies, but it's the guy who was in the movie 2012 with John Cusack. He was the new husband with the glasses, the doctor. His name was Gordon. Good job, man. You've come a long way. No, but seriously, that blew me away. But yeah, he's a director now. Good job. So yes, guys, Spotlight. Let's get into the premise concerning the movie, because this was a movie I was definitely looking forward to after I saw the trailer and everything, because of what the source material was concerning the movie. This movie is indeed based on a true story, and the movie is primarily set in early 2001, throughout the year 2001, where a lot of the movie's backstory and everything takes place in like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and whatnot. But the movie centers around one team of investigative journalists, and the name of this team is called Spotlight, and they belong to the paper known as the Boston Globe. Okay, so they're right in the heart of Boston. They're part of this one-man team that really spends and focuses a lot of time on investigating one particular thing. They'll take months to literally investigate one topic just to then go and get a great story on it and publish it and get it, well received, get it known in the papers, get it seen in the papers. So the team is comprised of certain, it's like a 5-person team. Actors, part of this team goes as follows: Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, Rachel McAdams. Liev Schreiber's character literally just gets introduced as an editor for the team as the film starts. We have John Slattery is also connected as well. And what this team starts to investigate is the massive sexual abuse scandal committed by various Catholic priests against minors, okay, young children. And there's been several allegations that have been tossed up. There have been cases that alleged victims have brought up but have then just thrown out. Nothing ever really went this far, okay? So this team starts to investigate into this matter, but specifically, they want to really look into the fact that the church has been doing their absolute best to cover up any event or any sort of allegation as best as they possibly could to not get the church looked frowned upon, you know what I'm saying? And then, on the same time, there are lawyers who have gone and who have done very private settlements with their clients who have allegedly been abused in order to both satisfy the church and satisfy their clients. So they'll get like a settlement, as well as the lawyer will make like a chunk will make a good, amount of money, earn a good amount of money from doing these little private settlements. So all these different things are going to converge into one, and they're all going to form this one big story, and it's up to this team to really crack this story down and release it to the public and break open the scandal. Okay, so that is overall the basic premise behind Spotlight. And again, guys, I was really interested or intrigued to go see this movie and see how they would handle the subject matter, because of course it is one of very graphic. The details in it, although they are never shown in the movie, but are just recounted by individuals who have been sexually assaulted or raped by priests. And they recount their story, their events, and that is ultimately what affects me, and I'm sure will affect moviegoers the most as they go and watch this movie. And I was really intrigued to see how they were going to handle this whole story. Were they going to just overdo it and just make these journalists just the utmost heroes and just paint them in the best light and paint the church in the worst possible negative light as possible? I was really concerned how they were going to do that. And in the end, the way that they pulled everything off really impressed me. And this is by far one of the best movies you are going to see in a theater this year, okay? Without a doubt, all right? Definitely, guys, if Spotlight comes to a theater near you, I am telling you about this movie now. Go and see it. You will not be disappointed. Now, a lot of people have been comparing this movie to investigative journalism movies like All the President's Men, which I still have not seen, or other movies like Frost Nixon, which I have not seen. A lot of these, like, where journalists or people particularly just investigate a certain issue. A lot of these movies are being compared to Spotlight, or Spotlight is being compared to them, and I haven't seen them. I guess you could say this is one of the first movies I've seen where a whole investigative process is basically the entire movie. And I gotta say, there was not 1 minute where I fell out of the movie or felt like I wasn't riveted or felt like I wasn't just engaged into what I was watching, or I felt like I just didn't care about the story at hand. This is a really fierce movie to watch, and it really just gets gruesome to sort of listen to when abuse victims talk about their abuse, okay, or they go into detail. That is when this stuff becomes truly horrifying. It honestly made me squirm in my seat and really affected me, okay? I love choices that the director and the filmmakers make as to when the perfect opportune moment to cut to a close-up of an abuse victim who is spewing their entire story, essentially, in front of these journalists who they don't really know that well, but they just want to get the story out there and into the papers. And they're hearing this whole story about this one thing, this horrific thing that has happened to a guy 30 years ago, okay? He's lived with this his entire life, and have to tell that story, the shame that must be within these people who have dealt with these stories is palpable. I felt it as I was watching this movie, and it deeply started to make me feel disgusted inside. It made me feel twisted. It made me feel dirty. That's one thing I felt as I finished watching this movie, okay? Although the way that the film concludes is perfect, that the way that the movie's focus is on the members of this team and their process of investigating this whole matter. Every single time we cut to a story of a survivor, essentially, telling about their misfortune, I started to, I felt bad inside. I felt sick, I felt disgusted. And I think that's what some filmmakers were going for, to show just how messed up this really is, okay? And yes, this happened then in 2001. There was a massive scandal, apparently. It wasn't just Boston. There were dozens of priests who were involved in this, okay? But it was all over the entire country. And the sad truth of the matter is that this happens today still, okay? There has to be some priests out there that still do this to young children and take advantage of them, okay? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was born and raised Catholic, okay? I'm a Catholic man, okay? Every now and then I do go to church, okay? And although that at moments the church did their best to cover up this, these scandals and not bring them out into the public eye. I don't think this movie ever just flat out denounces the church and says, oh, look, they're bad, okay? I don't think we should be Catholic anymore. I don't think we should go to church. There's a great scene in this movie where all of the reporters, all of these members of this team are going around the room saying that they were all born and raised and grown up to be Catholic, but that they've now strayed away from that faith and sort of gone down another path or whatever. And it just goes to show that the movie isn't condemning the Catholic faith by any means. It's condemning what has gone wrong, okay, in the Catholic Church in this one period of time. And it's clearly wrong. It's clearly messed up. What these priests have done is utmost unholy, okay? It's just a disaster. It's an unbelievable, just... I don't have words for it, okay, guys? It's sick, all right? It's just plain out sick, and it makes you feel very disgusted. But the way that these priests are frowned upon, you know, throughout the movie, that is who is being painted in a negative light. The names of these priests and the priests themselves, okay? The victims and some of the lawyers who were involved in just dealing and getting these settlements, okay? Just so they can just move on and throw these cases to the side, you know? That is really what I enjoyed and appreciated and admired the most about this movie. And again, this is all tying into the script, guys, okay? This is one of the best screenplays I have seen written all year long. Because like movies like Steve Jobs or like movies like Bridge of Spies, this movie is heavily dialogue, okay? So far, 3 of the top best movies of this year are heavily dialogue driven, okay? So if you don't like dialogue, guys, maybe you shouldn't go see these movies. I don't know. That's just my thought. But anyway, let's move on. Yeah, it's one of the best scripts of the year, and it's not just the dialogue that really gets me. Okay, it's the story itself, the story of the scandal, and just the certain themes of this movie of, you know, journalistic integrity or whatever, you know, just bringing about the truth, you know, secrets, and just these abuse stories themselves. All of these elements of this story are wrapped into this one screenplay, and the way that they're carried out and the way that the movie made me feel, okay, it drew emotional responses out of me during each moment of the movie, and that's ultimately why I loved the script as much as I did. There's riveting conversations between characters. There's moments where a character breaks down after feeling disgusting about listening to all of these stories or hearing about everything that's been going on. Specifically, Mark Ruffalo's character does that in this movie, and I thought he was brilliant. Now, segueing into the cast, this is one of the best ensemble casts you're going to see all year. Now, I'm not saying all these performances just blew me out of the water, okay? Like, oh, like Michael Keaton in this movie needs to win Best Supporting Actor. They were all very good in this movie. I don't think there was one performance that just blew me away. It's just the fact of the matter is they are all incredible actors who were very well cast, indeed, because they are good actors, and they carried out these roles of journalists very well. And there wasn't a moment where the script or the filmmakers themselves sort of tried to make this movie more so about the journalists and less about the story. It's more so about the journalists investigating the story, and that's what makes Spotlight work very well for me, at least. But yeah, performance-wise, Mark Ruffalo is brilliant in this movie. Michael Keaton, just coming off of Birdman, is excellent. Rachel McAdams, just coming off of True Detective Season 2, is great. Liev Schreiber is really great. Very reserved in this movie. Stanley Tucci playing an attorney is very good as well. Just an overall, just incredible, solid supporting cast of actors. Really great ensemble. I really loved the cast in this movie. I thought the film was brilliantly shot. Again, getting back to that what I was talking about, we're cutting right to a close-up of an abuse victim telling their story. There's some excellent tracking shots in this movie. Beautifully, the shots are very well composed. There's nothing like mind-blowing, like, oh, like this is like the most gorgeous shot I've seen all year. But you know, the movie doesn't have to be. The focus of this movie isn't beautiful shots, okay? It's the story that's being told, what these characters are going through to get this story out into the public eye. That is the point of this movie. It's not shots over that. It's not, cinematically how this movie looks or anything. Of course, it looks great. It's directed well. It's shot well. It's cut together incredibly well. Yeah, you can argue this is a very slow-paced movie as characters are trying to figure out answers, but that's the point of this movie, okay? This process took over a year for these investigators of this Team Spotlight to really find out what was really going on and get all the answers they were looking for. It took over a year. So naturally, yeah, the movie should be slow-paced, but it worked for me because there was not one moment where I fell out of it, felt bored, felt like I wasn't engaged into the story, I wanted to find these, I felt like I was with this crew trying to find these answers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really felt for these victims at some moments, and then there was one priest who had committed things, and then right when that scene ends, you kind of, in a way, felt bad for him, in a sense. I'm without spoiling anything. You saw his background, just in one scene alone, and I was like, oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. This is really messed up. This is pretty gruesome. But all in all, guys, everything really worked for me in this movie, okay? If I had to complain about one thing, and I know I already said that I love how the movie doesn't focus on the members themselves, it focused on the story because of how heavy-handed, how big this story was, how big this scandal was, and just the efforts of this team to bring this story to the public eye, all right? But there's probably one or two characters who I personally would have liked maybe a little bit more, just maybe a scene or two, just showing us their life, okay? I think there are two characters who we do get to see enough of their life. Mark Ruffalo's character specifically, it's really referred to what his character's life is like outside of his work. And I really liked that very much about his character. But there's some other characters we really don't get to see that. Rachel McAdams is also, she has another side story of something she does out of work involving her grandmother. And I really liked that. There's a few other characters who are very important to what is going on, but I would have liked maybe just 1 ounce of a backstory in regards to their characters and just something going on alongside this investigation, okay? So that is all. That is the only thing I'm going to knock Spotlight down, guys. Guys, it's a brilliant script. It's beautifully written, layered. It's brilliant, in my opinion. It's got, the perfect act structure. It's got, the heightened moments of conflict between characters. It has everything you'd come to expect from a formal screenplay. It's one of the best written of this year, in my opinion. Without a doubt, go see Spotlight, guys. It's brilliant, okay? I'm going to give it one of my highest grades. I'm going a solid 9.5 out of 10, or a grade of an A for Spotlight. Go see it. You will not be disappointed. The ending is brilliant and horrifying at the same time. It's satisfying yet horrifying. That's what I meant to say. And I just think you will not be disappointed if you see this movie. It's tense, it's slow-paced, but it is incredibly just a riveting journey just to see this group just find these answers. And you will not be able to just... You are absorbed from the minute this movie starts to the very end of this film. You will not want to take your eyes off the screen. Period. Best praise I had to give Spotlight. Go see it. Guys, if you have seen Spotlight, let me know what you thought of it down below in the comments as always. And thank you guys so much for watching my review. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.